another Commercial Trucking Chronicles. I'm your boy Swizzy, and I'm back with another video this Sunday morning. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's warm. And just want to encourage you to continue to keep good spirits. Keep good spirits with everything that's going on. A lot of violence and things being perpetuated, people crashing out, a lot of fear, uncertainty unfolding, and you know, we gotta just continue to be of a positive mindset, because a lot of people are just so emotionally torn apart these days by what they're seeing on TV. And make no mistake about it, what you see, these live videos, these are actual events as they unfold, being broadcast to you live, much like I'm coming to you live right now. So make no mistake, what you see with your own two eyes is exactly what's right in front of you. You see a black male with a bathrobe on, with a Nike baseball cap, a little bit of gray hairs in front of you. That's exactly what you're seeing right now. So don't let someone twist it around and tell you that I had on a blue hat and a white bathrobe, okay? It's the other way around. Please make sure that you assess what it is that you're seeing, even if you have to go back and watch a replay of this video. I am literally sitting right here live in front of you with a white hat and a blue bathrobe. So, moving forward, I always want to make sure we're clear on that. See, we're looking through the same lens. It's just so hard today, it shouldn't be hard to distinguish the lie from a truth. It should not be that hard. Not when it's right in front of you, okay? And I know for a fact that, some people are telling bold-faced lies. They know it themselves. What are we supposed to do about it, guys? What are we supposed to do about it? Stick to what it is that you see and you know to be true. And don't be misled by the lies. All right? I want to just shame some people right now. Shame, Waltz and Fry, whatever, and Christy. No, shame on them people, man. Shame on y'all, man, for trying to lie to the American people. It's just a shame, all right? The only way to win this fight is with the truth. I ain't saying go out and arm yourself. I ain't saying go out and perpetuate no type of, aggressive acts of violence. Stick to the truth. And if you stick to the truth, you'll prevail in the end. But all of the lies that are being perpetuated, the stories that are being reported and stuff like that, like you can go back and like I said, view a lot of the footage that's just coming straight directly to you, to be able to determine with yourself what is a truth from a lie. And that's what it is, man. I know people are very supportive of ICE. I know that, I'm supportive, of all men and women in uniform, as long as they're doing the job according to, the proper training and stuff like that. I mean, I support them. Some people, they just don't have the proper training. It's like a rookie on the job, man. You don't know what you're doing, man. You got to step back, man. Let somebody that's a veteran, somebody that knows, are properly trained, and hopefully they're still acting in accordance with what they were trained, and not just going off of their emotion, or being, a little radical about, their approach to situations. So, that's my thing on that one there. A lot of these things, that these protests and stuff that's happening around the country, again, I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna continue to happen. So we gotta just be prepared, but don't be, you know, don't allow, because news is gonna unfold after certain things happen, right? If it's another act of violence perpetuated against American citizen, there's going to be follow up with a news briefing, and so I just ask that you guys don't use your discernment, man. Review the footage for yourself and recognize what it is that you see. Recognize the truth from the lies. A lot of times people here will lie to you just to get you to be in support of them. They don't want to lose funding. They want your vote. There's a whole lot of things that's going on. Of course, we got to end some of the, not some of, there has to be, end to the madness. There's, the immigration issued here in America has to come to an end at some, means, and by some measures, of, approach, right? And I commend the people that's, working, in the government and stuff like that. I commend them because they're part of an organization that has, tremendous capability. Any government that can go into a country and snatch up the president, another president, that means that they have very intelligent, uh, reconnaissance. They can, these people know how to plan their attack and execute. They have good, excellent men and women in uniform, that when they go and they move in on their target, and they mission accomplished. So I don't understand what's the problem with how the immigration reform, not even reform, but when they're going after all these people, how is it that, and I know, yeah, you got, everybody's protesting because they go over there, they show up, jump out of a car, unmarked car, and then, locals in the neighborhood or whatever, they alert by blowing whistles, or they've conspired together to be able to blow the cover of these people that are in, they're in deep cover. I mean, I'm sure they, you know, how much more deep cover is covering up your face? You know what I'm saying? That's pretty going. That's pretty deep. But those operations being planned out the way they are, I want to say they, if they're able to do all that in another country and get in and out with, the president of that country under the cloak of darkness, not being detected, bam, and in a short period of time, they got this man in cuffs and bringing him to, book him, right? How come you can't go get these illegals in the same way, under the cloak of darkness, without being spotted, without, having so much of the community in an uproar while you conduct these raids? These raids should be done under the cloak of darkness, stealth mode. They can move like that. They do it all the time. And that way you won't cause the uprising that you have from people that might not want to see, somebody brought into custody. I mean, you know, you might not want to see him go into custody, but if he's on the list and he's a criminal and we got him in our handcuffs and we got him in custody, you know, he's coming with us. He's coming with us, right? But I guess the way they're just pulling people out of cars to start, you know, this is what got the people roared up. And I ask myself, like, how did it get so out of control where it's to this? You know, now we're losing the lives of men and women that are U.S. citizens because, you know, they're peacefully protesting. How did it get so bad? It all started, I guess it all, but they got to do better. That's the whole moral to this whole thing. They got to do better. They got to do better. They can do better because they got the reconnaissance and the people that are smart enough. Come on, ICE. I don't think ICE is smart as they want credit for. But those special forces guys, they can get in and out and they snatch you up. You wouldn't even know you got until you. Oh shoot, I'm in custody. That's what the president over there. He didn't even know he. Probably didn't know he was getting got. They probably turned on. He probably got up to go use the bathroom, turned the lights on. They're standing there like, "Come with us, sir." Like they just popped up on. Why can't they just pop up on these guys that they're looking for, whoever it is? I mean, there's so many of them on the list. They can go one by one and go get them, and be in stealth mode. You know what I'm saying? Not even alert the people. The people will be like, where's so and so at? He gone? What do you mean he gone? You can leave a calling card. ICE got him. You know what I'm saying? We got him. You know, leave your calling card. ICE. You know what I'm saying? That's how slick we are. We in and out of there before he even knew it. You know, but the false reports and things that are coming out about how, you know, these are lies that are being told, you know, about some of the casualties of what's going on out here. You know, the dude Alex Petty that was killed, you know, unalive. I'm sorry, I don't even have a trigger word going on. Alex Petty, you know, you know. And then when questioned about what happened, it don't line up with what the video says. Take a listen to this.
If these are targeted arrests, why are these immigration agents going after civilian protests out of their way? And second,
this individual impeded the law enforcement officers and attacked them. State the facts as they unfolded on the street today.
Okay, so you state the facts as they unfolded on the street today. I seen something totally different. You did too, didn't you? You saw me wearing a blue hat and a white shirt, right? Or did you see me with a white hat and a blue bathrobe? That's what I'm saying. Don't misunderstand what it is that you seeing live. I don't know what she saw live, but she said that she saw one thing, another, whatever the case is. But
and second,
this individual impeded the law enforcement officers and attacked them. State the facts as they unfolded on the street today. We were doing a targeted operation against an illegal criminal, and this individual came with a weapon and dozens of rounds of ammunition.
Where was the criminal? Because I saw a video of the guy standing out there with a camera directing traffic. I thought he was actually you know how you have somebody in plain clothes? I thought he was in plain clothes from that. And then I was like, well, they took one of their own down. That's what I thought. So what criminal were they actually going after? And this all happened in the middle of a street. Or maybe they were going to somebody's house. I don't know. Maybe they were on their way to apartment 14, whatever, and this guy just happened to be here. But again, like I said, I saw somebody that looked like they were a plainclothes officer directing traffic and filming. Next thing you know, they tackled him, and next thing you know, they was spraying Mason, him and some woman, and then he was unalive shortly after that. So, but moments leading up to that, it looked to me like he was a part of, the effort. He looked like he was a part of the effort. That's why I say when these people come with these briefings after the fact, you can't listen to this. You got to use discernment and look at it, what it was that you saw right there in front of your own two eyes, because I'm not sitting here in front of you with a blue hat on and a white bathrobe. I actually have a white hat on with a blue bathrobe. So what you see is what you get, especially live, right? And I seen it live myself. So I ain't letting them tell me anything. Listen to this lady, man. She's just lying to the people.
And attacked them. And these agents took action to defend their lives and to defend the lives of the people around them and acted according to their training. And we will continue to let this process go forward and not allow people like Governor Walz and Mayor Frey to lie about what actually unfolded on that street. Now they have deemed this situation an unlawful assembly, and these leaders aren't even cleaning up the situation that they have as far as the violent riots that we see unfolding in Minneapolis right now. They need to be strong, take action, protect their citizens, and partner with us to go after these criminals that perpetuate violence and to keep our law enforcement officers safe. Let's all be grateful for people who take an oath every day and they go out to enforce the laws. That is their job, is to enforce the laws.
And I am grateful that these people are out here, these men and women in uniform. You know, there's a lot of them out there, they full of crap. But I'm grateful for the most part for the ones that are out there, that putting themselves in the line of fire and, you know, plain clothes and uniform. Now, I don't, like I said, I'm still convinced that he was plain clothes, and they probably did. But they found out that he works in a hospital. He's not a plain clothes officer. But even for those plainclothes officers that put their lives in the line of fire, and a lot of times they come under, you know, the same brutality because, you know, they're not in uniform, and then you get somebody that's in uniform that's just kind of jacked up, you know, gun-ho, you know, training, I don't know, that's out the window. He's just wide open, he crashing out. He just figured he could do what he wants to do. And a lot of times there's been a lot of that, but they don't talk about that. And there's been a lot of that where a lot of our, you know, brave men and women have lost their lives and been caught in the crossfire, or, you know, just unfortunately, you know, had their, you know, lives cut short by this type of brutality. You know what I'm saying? And this is none other than brutality. Remember, what you see is what you get. Now, I know they have to use force, you know what I'm saying? You know, because they're going after criminals, but this wasn't even a guy. He wasn't the target. He wasn't the man that was supposed to be going to get. He wasn't on no list. He was somebody that was out there who was peacefully protesting. And then on the other hand, he's licensed to carry this. And well, don't take the thing to, you know, you shouldn't have been carrying. And, you know, why? He's licensed. I mean, what do you do when you're licensed? You carry your arm. You carry your, you know. And see, and I get into a lot of the comments of other people because I watch a lot of other people's channels too, and they're in there and they're, you know, they're going with, you know, yeah, you know, I'm like, yeah, but I'm trying to get people to see too, like, well, what if this man, you know, like, was able to be, you know, someone to put down or to take down somebody who was actually going to be an aggressor? Would it have been a smart thing for him to left his gun at home? Because we all know what happened to that man that, you know, wrestled that gun out of the guy's hands, where him and his son was assaulting those Jewish people on that beach during that Hanukkah thing. He did not have a firearm on him, but he was brave enough to go and wrestle the gun out of the man's hands, you know. And so, I mean, I don't know that he was licensed to carry a gun. I don't know if he owned a gun. He didn't have one on him at the time. And that was a heroic act. Alex Petty was licensed to carry. It wasn't like something like that ever. Well, he did try to shield that woman, so that was kind of a heroic act right there because he did get in between the officers and the woman. Now, they sprayed her with pepper mace just because, what, she was there. I mean, you know, they were going to go conduct a arrest, from what they're saying, that there was an arrest and he got in the way of that, and, you know, this led to him losing his life, you know. Couple things are coming under fire. First, your right, the First Amendment right. And that's the right to protest, your voice, peacefully protest. Then just Second Amendment right, your right to protect yourself and bear arms. That is now also going to be coming under attack. Then we saw earlier in the week where they had the lemon head guy and the rest of them ran up in the church. Now, I don't know what amendment and that is, but it's a right to assemble and to worship. That is now under attack. More and more and more of our rights are being under attack, you know. But then after these attacks, there's all of these. It says a right. You have a right. You have a right to. You have the right to protect, and of course, you have a right to your firearm, but also have to follow commands by law enforcement. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. CMZ 083. Totally agree with you. And that's the other. There's the other thing where I will ask the question: when somebody's saying I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting, but they're on the ground and they're like, I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting. Why is it always he was resisting? Like they, you know, because of the encounter? Because you're not resisting, if you're not resisting, but, you know, you're encountering law enforcement. Like any encounter with them is considered a resist, because I've watched these guys and I say they're rogue, man. They're rogue. I don't know whether it's their training or what. I've watched these guys just push a person that's standing there, grab and throw someone to the ground or wrestle them to the ground. And then that is always perpetuated that the officer was attacked. They jumped on him, you know. I think every time they take a step towards you, yeah, you want to take 2 steps back. You know what I'm saying? And you want to follow the commands of law enforcement. But there's no command actually given. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they're showing the aggressive, or they are the aggressor, because they're approaching you. And so then you step back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man, that argument, usually they litigate over stuff like that, but that's always after, you know, the reports are, you know, come out, you know, because all of these things are followed by reports and stuff. So, we're just having a hard time as a nation right now, man. And I think too the way that you know, to protest, of course, you know, is to, you know, you got to find a way to do it and not be so upfront, you know. Like I'm not gonna say go vandalize and spray paint things, but sometimes, you know, just having signs that you hold up and you can voice your opinion by doing it that way. A lot of times people use artwork, you know, to kind of, you know, express their feelings and but they want to protest something. You know, people use music too, you know. There's always that, you know. Gathering in large crowds, I know that can become so dangerous, especially today, you know. We want to, you know, you want to be able to have your voice heard, you know, but if it's going to cost me having to breathe in, you know, a toxin or stuff like that, I just choose my battles wisely. You know, and I'm not telling anybody, you know, what to do, but when you listen to these people and from the standpoint of the government, what they see as aggressive behavior is just anybody that's impeding. And impeding means protesting, basically.
And to make sure that there is consequences for breaking the law in this country and that it applies equally to everybody.
Including those agents. including those agents or anybody, law enforcement. Thank you for that. I'm sad that this happened. There is no love in this world. It's all anger. There is love in this world. Exactly. Choose your battles and your fight for everything. We have to, and I appreciate you for your comment. We have to choose our battles wisely, because the government is they it's not black and white with them, man. Or it's basically black and white with them. It's black and white with them. And now one of the other things too, you want to talk about black and white, they just have these two people that lost their lives were white people that were peacefully protesting. And it's sad, but it shows you the level that the government, what level the government will go to, what extreme because you didn't hear too much of this type of violence being perpetuated, and they say, well, it wasn't violence, he was acting in self-defense, right? He was violently pushed to the ground, violently tackled to the ground. You're impeding. So how does this government handle that? How do our men and women in the uniform handle that? Choose your battles wisely. They're gonna use that aggression, right? It's just that simple. All of those rioters and all that, that protesting, all the protesters, all of them are basically in harm's way, because you're protesting, and I don't see how that's something that they're not going to stand down. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Minnesota and a lot of the protesters, it would be helpful if the police would actually go out there and do their job. I totally agree, because they're letting this just go rogue. This thing is freestyle right now, and they can do freestyle whatever they want. I mean, they just coming with whatever, not just leave it up to ICE to handle it. And that's true. That's why I said too, they have a mission, they have a job to do, and I don't doubt that they have a plan of attack. They have some reconnaissance, or there's a they're doing it. They know who they're after and where to find them. The thing about it is, they're not able to go in and do their job, and I get that, because the people are impeding, they're getting in the way of this, and they're causing a disruption. And that's where I believe that the Minnesota police need to step in and control the protesters. If they're making a bunch of noise, that's where the police need to handle them, right? If you're that's like you alarming, yo, they coming for you, you're impeding. So the police job is to handle that, and they're not, and that's what they should be doing. So this thing has gotten so far out of control. Every day there's something, man. And I just hope and pray that there's no more loss of life, anyone. And I even said another thing. I said, start passing out money. Try and get these people to start, give them some checks to people, man. Something to kind of cool them down. Give them some money. People might go away. I don't know. That's not going to solve it. That's not going to solve anything. But they could be a little bit more clever about how they're going and getting these people. I believe. I know they got a better way. Because if they can go in and get Madero or whatever in the middle of the night, and he didn't know they were coming, and next thing you know, before he know it, he's in Manhattan somewhere getting fingerprinted, and that was a bad move. That showed how sophisticated and how a successful mission can get pulled off. So any of these guys that they're needing to go after, they should be able to get them, and it should be okay. We got them. So it was a success. Nobody got hurt. Nobody was alarmed. We did it under the cloak of darkness. We went in a stealth mode. These guys don't know what stealth mode is. ICE don't know how to move like stealth. I don't think they've trained like that. ICE don't got stealth mode training. All they know is rogue. And that's what's upsetting people. That's what's causing the problem. Because they push you down to get to the next man. And you better hope that's all they do to you. You know what I'm saying? But if they were trained to be on stealth mode, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, even if they were plain clothes, I think they'd have a better outcome. Plain clothes. Because, what's the need for all of the vests? Ain't nobody opening up fire on these guys. What's the need for all the faces being covered? Ain't no need for that. If they was in plain clothes, undetectable, they'd get right up alongside the people they trying to get. That's him, yeah, and grab him. You can get right up alongside him like that. So they're letting, and I think that's one of the things that their approach is the way it is for a reason, because I think they want to draw attention to themselves. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but it just don't sound like these guys are they didn't show up to kind of do their job according to anybody's rules. And see, everybody got to follow rules. You see what she said, and there's going to be consequences. It's definitely going to be consequences, but but plain clothes would help, I think. Yeah, plain clothes, I think, would help. Absolutely. I do the CMZ083. I think plain clothes would help very much so, because this way, and that's why I said, I thought that the guy would just homeless single. Good morning, hey, good morning. I thought that the guy that was unalived was a plain clothes officer, because moments leading up to what happened to him, he was directing traffic and he was filming and he was trying to direct traffic. So it looked, that's why I said, what's right in front of you, don't be deceived. I'm not wearing a blue hat and a white bathrobe. I'm wearing a white hat with a blue bathrobe. I know what I saw. The man was directing traffic. He looked like he was a plain clothes agent, and they unalived him. So I think that their approach is what it is for a reason. They want to come off or appear to be, tough. ICE, Border Control, we're coming for you. You know what I'm saying? Got the big vest, the mask, the glove, all these paint guns and mace, and they really look like the aggressors. Never mind what they look like. Well, we have to pay attention to that, because you get what you see. You see what you get, right? And so they are the aggressors. They are kicking in doors. I gotta go. Be honest, I probably snap if I had to listen to the whistles at home and yell all day. Yeah, Lord, I don't know if I could handle it as an officer. Me neither. I wouldn't want to hear that all day. And that's got to be nerve-wracking. That's why they call them agitators. The people are agitators. There's a lot of them, they're paid agitators. And that's why I'm saying, how did it get to this? How did it get to where it's so out of control like this? The people just want them out of their neighborhoods because, nobody's getting no rest. It's so chaotic. And it's not just all the whistleblowing. Everywhere you go, you probably breathing in all kinds of toxic smoke, or you know, what I'm saying tear gas and all of that. You know, them guys could be on the ground in the neighborhood, rolling up on their targets, and not even be detected by the people. If this is what they want to do. I feel the worst for the people that live there and not involved. Yeah, because that's a very tight, it's a small, I'm gonna say it's a small community, but if you see how the neighborhood is designed, you know, multi-unit housing, you got apartment buildings, you know, them people better keep their windows down, because that smoke gonna come right up in their house, and and maybe gonna be breathing that stuff in. You know what I'm saying? So those neighborhoods, you know, it's like if you can't beat them, join them. They outside making all this noise, might as well go outside with them, because you can't get away from it by going inside and staying in your house, because if the smoke ain't coming in there, you know, all that loud noise that's outside, you gotta basically plug your ears if they right there. And right now, with the amount of people that's outside, everybody's out there, man. Everybody's outside. They all are. They got their pets out there and everything, man, protesting. I wouldn't be walking my dog out there. She wouldn't want to go. She'd be pulling away from me trying to get back in the house. So, sad, man. You know, and like I said, you know, First Amendment, right to free speech, under attack. Second Amendment, right to bear arms, under attack. And then you got another right to assemble and worship. You seen that was under attack. I think they're gonna water that one down, because you know I don't think they trying to get Don Lemon in that about that woman and them people. You know they got charges for that, so they're gonna have their day in court. But you know what? Run up in the wrong church and find out. So you know, let's hope that they ain't going down that road and still trying to you know, assault, run up on and you know, that's a can of worms you don't want to open up, because you got enough people out here protesting now because this is the second loss of life. And now, what I was saying, this shows the extreme that these law men and women, the law is they're ready to go to these extremes, and they don't care whether it is a, you know, this black community or white community. It don't matter. You know, anybody that stands up against them, you know, you're putting your life at risk. And like somebody said, if they can put their hands on you, if they're close enough, you're close enough where they can get their hands on you, they may just take your life. You know what I'm saying, at this point, because it's been, you know, the level, you know, when you encounter law enforcement, usually is a heightened level of, you know, alert and stuff. So these people feel that, you know, they need to, you know, they don't want to de-escalate. They feel like everything has already been escalated to a point where it's now, you know, where, you know, they may not have been given the right to use lethal force, but they're at that point now where they feel like, you know, we just waiting for we waiting for the go ahead. Now the guard or whoever, the military is now being injected. So how does this all play out? I'm just looking down the road at how this all can play out. How does it come to an end? How do we get to a peaceful resolve? You know, what's going to happen? Are you going to start changing some laws and things like that, which ultimately, you know, how much power is, you know, the commander in chief, you know, willing to, you know, hand over once, you know, he inflicts, you know, whatever, you know, the M law word, or, you know, the Insurrection Act or whatever, who comes now? Those chiefs of staff are in control, right? Now, when it get to that level, if it comes to that level, the men and women in uniform, somebody gonna wind up You know what I'm saying? It's going to be the white flag is going to come out. Somebody going to wind up surrendering. Somebody going to wind up surrendering. That white flag is going to have to get waved at some point. But I believe it's going to escalate. Things are going to escalate. Of course, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to escalate, and then somebody goes on and wave that white flag. Now, are those men and women going to? It's just going to get bloody out here. You know, then they're gonna start realizing, man, look, man, no, we're not. We're gonna have to go against, what we're being told to do, or are because everybody know, man, what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy saying, if you can, go out and get yourself a GoPro, so that way, if you ever come into contact with, any agents or anything like that, your hands will be free. Your hands are, it's just like having meta glasses. You just see the hands and stuff, and you see what's in front of you. So hopefully that footage there may be able to kind of help you as much as it can, because like I said, what you see is going to be what you get, right? But the narratives can always be kind of shifted. They will kind of, say one thing and then kind of try to quickly sweep that, all right, we're moving past that, put that under the rug. You didn't have much of a voice there, but that footage is going to be exactly, it's going to be everything. That's going to mean everything. Yes, a lot of people are in real fear of civil war because we've gotten so close to this being the climate right now. And it's too cold for all of that, man. It's too cold for all of that, I believe curfews are getting ready to be enforced. And, the ones that are going to be enforcing those curfews are going to be, the guard. You know what I'm saying? But the police, the Minnesota police, I think they're failing the people of Minnesota by not making their presence as felt as it should be at this time, or before it even got to this. I think they failed the people, and I would blame the mayor and the governor out there, because they ain't exactly, on the side of, they ain't exactly on the side of the people or the citizens. I think they just, working with federal government to be able to get funding, and pretty much that's the extent of where they inject any power or any say, if they can get funding from their voice. Other than that, and that a lot of that funding we know that Minnesota did get went to a lot of the hey, how you doing? Salama G Kids. F5B. How you doing, sir? Salman G. That's a pretty hard name to pronounce. But CMZ083, they don't have to be on the side of ICE to manage the crowd. And that's true. But at this point, the protesters are looking at any law enforcement as being the problem. And they, they're saying, get out, go home. Well, your local police are home. So, asking them to go home is like, they really should. I think what everybody should kind of do is, well, at this point, it's almost to a point of, like you said, a civil, uprising. No, sir, I do not remember. I do remember your name, yes, because I do remember you. I do. And it was very hard to pronounce then, and it's just as hard to pronounce now. But I try to say Salam. Najib. Salam Najib KDS. Hope you subscribe to the channel, my brother. So, you know, and then you have more and more groups. Okay, here's another question I want to ask you too. Okay, so they're saying that he showed up with a firearm, and I already said this. I did discuss this, right? So, with him having a license to carry and going to this protest, that doesn't necessarily mean that he was, you know, he was there to invoke any type of violent act towards ICE. But that's what they were trying to say. Salim, okay, how you doing, Salim? They were saying that because he came to, and then I saw another guy's live. I was in the comments, and he says, Yemen. Okay, yep. I do remember. That you know, you don't show up to a peaceful protest with a firearm. Where's that a law? Where is that a law? You know, when you think about all the people that are in that crowd, there's got to be a description of somebody that's legal to carry and who's carrying, possibly off-duty officer, like in the crowd. Somebody's going to fit that description. That does not mean that does not mean that, you know, that person's life is expendable, right? You got a lot of people that are licensed, concealed carry license. They don't leave their house without it. If there's a protest going on somewhere, they're there, and of course they got their, you know what I'm saying, they got their best friend with them, right? Legal. I don't see anything wrong with that. If they wouldn't have jumped on him, they'd have never knew that he had a firearm on him, because he never pulled it. He never pulled his weapon. So that right there, to me, I'm not buying into that. And so the other guy on his live stream, I'm like, he's making it seem like that dude did something wrong. And that's why I said too, like, wait a minute, hold up, wait a minute. After further review and after other information about the person came out, they said, yeah, well, he was a part of, you know, the organized group of, you know, people that didn't like ICE. So I don't know how true that is. It maybe is true. But that doesn't give motive to, you know, him just being there in support of the peaceful protests. He said, I live in Ohio. CMZ 083, I live in Ohio and we have open carry now, and almost anyone could be armed. That's right. That's why I say when you're a crowd of people, just about anybody, man, you know, there's a lot of people that's down there right now. I'm almost 100% sure of it, and I bet you them ICE agents know it too. They knew that before they even turned it up to this level, man. They knew that before they you know, came out there and started, you know, just spraying people and doing what they were doing, man. You know, the mission is to get the illegals out of the state. People that are, you know, criminals. That's the mission. Don't lose sight of the mission. Go do that, handle that part there. So, you know that there's a crowd of people, and in that crowd, somebody's got a firearm, and it's probably a legal firearm too. But they're not turning their weapon on you. People are not showing up to revolt. They're there to protest peacefully, and it's been out of hand. I noticed some of these guys that have these, concealed weapons on them and are going to these things, they're just as agitated getting sprayed, knowing that they got a firearm on them. But, that just because I'm getting sprayed don't mean pull up my gun and start, because then that could turn everything 10 times worse. So, good thing they're being responsible. Nobody's pulled a weapon on nobody of law enforcement or of ICE, of nothing, of nobody. And there are plenty of people. I know there are. Now, you did have that Black Panther guy. And see how this narrative is playing out? Open carry. And so they want to come down there and open carry. Man, that changed the whole dynamics right there. Because, see, you got a person that's concealed carrying wind up getting his life taken. Now, you come out here open carrying, these agents are liable to just, empty out on you. Because if they don't fear for their life because they see that you have something of a high capacity, but you got it legally and you're at a protest, what are you doing here with this weapon? In other words, for what? Now, go back in time, man, to when they had those riots and stuff back in the civil rights movements and stuff, and when they were marching with the Panthers, and they were out there with their open carry, and because they had those firearms and things of that nature on them while they were marching with those guys that were doing their peaceful protests, law enforcement didn't, they didn't see that as an opportunity to go and have an all-out war with the folks, or a civil war or nothing like that. So I said that, man, because I really, really believe that, if these operations are planned in this way, all of this stuff has been considered, that we're gonna have resistance from the people. So what? Cover your face. I don't know. This is just what I'm thinking. That they're, giving the green light to do some of this stuff, man. And to kind of like invoke fear, because fear is one of the biggest tools. And then there's the broadcast system, right? They know all this stuff gonna wind up on everybody's timeline. You know what I'm saying? People out here catching all angles of the protests, the violence, the yelling, the screaming, a lot of emotion. So let me know what you think about it, man. I mean, I definitely appreciate you guys leaving a comment with me. CMZ083, Salim, welcome back. I appreciate you, man. You're over there in Yemen. You need to be reporting on what's going on over there, man. We would really like to hear what's going on, and if you guys are even aware of all of the protests that's taking place here in the States. And so, it's always good to know that, I'm able to reach a broader audience. There's a lot of tension that's going on globally right now. If this thing escalates anymore and there is an insurrection act or a civil war or something that breaks out in this country, or martial law, whatever the case may be, the next thing that would happen, I believe, is the Joint Chiefs of Staff become the ones who are in control here. And not only will they be in control here, we're already in a, have global tensions going on where we have a lot of our naval ships and things in place in outside of the country. So they're going to be on very high alert at home and abroad. And that's when pretty much, you know, the president will kind of step aside, and then those high-ranking military officials have the say. And once we reach that level, once it gets to that level there, you're gonna really, really find out, you know, that we have pretty much entered into almost a point of no return in this country, until that white flag comes out, somebody surrenders. Somebody surrenders. Nobody wants that here at home because, that white flag probably gonna be stained with a lot of red blood. And then after that, there's going to be a whole lot of things happening in the government and rewriting of laws and bills and stuff and things of that nature before they just hand the country back over to, the commander in chief and whoever that may be, right? But anyway, let me know what you think about, the current situation. I appreciate all your comments. Y'all, please, if you can, get yourself a GoPro or something like that if you're going to be protesting, because, protests are going to probably start popping up in every major city, especially the sanctuary cities, because these are the places that are going to be hit and hit hard. They're going to turn it up some more. You better believe it. Like I say, it's always darkest before the light. So it's going to continue to escalate these tensions because it's kind of just getting started. Not just getting started, but people are really at a point now where they're like, you know what, this is it. This is the second United States citizen that, in the people's eyes, this is the second U.S. citizen who has lost their life due to the outrage of the presence and the acts and the practices of the U.S. border agents, or ICE. So something's got to get done. Something's gonna have to happen, and something, there's still a lot to come. So I just encourage you guys to be safe out there. I'm gonna end this by saying, we still want to know what's up with the Epstein files. So we're not gonna be gaslit. We're not gonna be smoke bombed. None of that stuff about that. The American people still have a right to know, what's up with that. And moving forward, let's try to get this immigration issue that we have here in this country under control or resolved or whatever the case may be, so we can move on as a people. And start to rebuild as communities fall apart. Because right now communities are being destroyed, but it's always a process that has to happen. It's called build and destroy. They are destroying these communities right now to get to these people. So let's make sure that we do not lose sight of what the mission is, and no more loss of life and stuff like that. Yeah, hey Rocky, I'm about to end this, man, but I appreciate you coming back, man. Go ahead and hit that like button for me, Rocky. 3, 4, 5, 1, and you can watch it on replay if you like, man. But continue, and this is Sunday, Thank you very much. Appreciate you for subscribing. So yeah, this is Sunday, January 25th. It's a cold Sunday, man. It's a cold. I mean, they talk about ice, man. Listen here, man. Ice cold out there. Ice is cold. They moving like that too. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna pray for them, man. Let's turn up the heat on the ice. You know what I'm saying? So turn up the heat. What do you mean? What are you getting at? You know, I mean, you know, stay warm, yeah. Stay warm and stay positive. There you go, CMZ083. I appreciate you, man. Y'all have a great, blessed Sunday, man. You know, it's your boy Swizzy. Leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and come back and check me on the next one. I appreciate you guys, man. One love.